11 years ago, mankind was witness to one of the most horrendous displays of repugnant terror and gratuitous violence ever witnessed by human eyes. It was a truly disgusting, traumatic experience, with little or no reason to ever have been visited upon us. But enough about Matrix Reloaded. This episode is about a much better film. Here's your damn rant show, folks.
Dirty fuck!
Good evening, sleepyheads. It's another episode of Film Rants, the show that dares to delve into your darkest fears and haunts your nightmares. I'm your host, E. Adam Thomas, and tonight I do not sleep with a teddy bear. It's a plushy Godzilla, thank you very much. Okay, baby. Tonight's film was 4 years stuck in development hell, with more story treatments floating around than a remake of Blade Runner. I'm talking about the long-awaited Freddy vs. Jason. 17 different scripts were considered before the final draft finally made it to the screen, after 16 years of attempts to pull the production together. In a nutshell, Freddy Krueger, played by the amazing Robert Englund, has lost almost all of his powers when the children of Springwood have been made to forget about him. In a last-ditch effort to restore his powers, he calls upon the unkillable Jason Voorhees at Camp Crystal Lake to rise again and bring fear back to Elm Street. The plan backfires, however, when Jason, like Adam Richman at a hot wing eating contest, just can't stop killing. Ultimately, Freddy is forced to turn on his emissary and all fucking hell breaks loose. Featuring Monica Keena, Jason Ritter, and Ken Kirzinger as Jason Voorhees, the $25 million film made back over 3 times its budget domestically and a metric fuck-ton of money worldwide. Fortunately, this film actually deserved it. Say what you will about the gratuitous slasher genre. This movie, in its own way, rose above the expectations of the genre. It's not just 97 minutes of bouncing titties and bloodbath. This is a smart, funny, and entertaining film with everything we've come to love about both franchises. Now, I've never been much of a fan of the Friday the 13th films, frankly. I mean, I understand their appeal, and I accept that Jason is one of the ultimate stars of the gore genre. But in comparison to the majority of the Elm Street films, I always looked at Jason as the Gamera to Freddy's Godzilla. Sure, Jason slaughtered his fair share of hedonistic, disreputable, sex and drug-crazed teenagers. But Freddy had style. He had wit and black humor going for him, and his victims, more often than not, also had style and wit. The victims in this film aren't the best of the franchise. I mean, let's be honest. She has great tits, but Monica Keena is no Heather Langenkamp. But they are definitely a lot more memorable than most of the quivering meat sacks in the Jason films. Let's be honest here. The Elm Street films are just, even at their worst, better than most of the Friday the 13th films. This film is a major shot in the artistic arm for Jason, and it's also a really cool installment for Freddy as well. Now I know, this isn't Fail-Safe or 12 Angry Men. It's not the greatest film ever made, and there's plenty of problems with it. It suffers from the same kind of silly nightmare crap that some of the other Elm Street films, especially 4 and 5, suffer from. It gets cartoony, too cartoony at times. The sequence where Freddy tempts the stoner, who is a direct ripoff of Jason Mewes' character in many of the Kevin Smith films, is just a little bit too out there. Although the payoff at the end of the sequence almost makes it worthwhile. It's definitely a film where your ability to suspend disbelief is put to the test. Nonetheless, it is precisely what it is supposed to be. And it manages to be that with style and a sort of gruesome elegance that is rare. To be honest, I'm kind of glad that Rob Zombie turned down the opportunity to direct this film. I think it would have gone a little bit more for the fear factor and left a lot of the wit and humor on the editing room floor. And you know what? That would have been a fucking shame. Let's be honest here, Freddy and Jason are on lunchboxes and t-shirts. To do this film in the same way Zombie did House of a Thousand Corpses would have been a mistake. And both my enjoyment of the film and the impressive box office numbers definitely bear that out. Rising like a demon out of a fountain of dog piss, the Rantometer shows Freddy vs. Jason getting an impressive 3 for artistic, 5 for coolness, and a 4 for originality. I'll give it half a razor blade for crossing the line on the cheese factor a couple of times, but that still gives us a pretty decent score of 11.5 out of 15. And as much as the idea initially sounded really cool to me at the time, might I just take this opportunity to convey my gratitude that they did not make Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash? I mean, I like cheese as much as the next guy, but I have a pretty good idea where that film would have gone. And I have to say that I find the lack of its existence, groovy. Anyway, how about some of you quivering meat sacks out there in internet land commenting and stuff on using the hashtag FilmRantsEAT? And don't forget about my pals Angry Andy and Uncle Drew here on the Angry Men Reviews channel. We're doing this for your benefit, folks. How are you going to know what movies really rock and which ones totally, egregiously suck if we aren't here to point them out for you, huh? In the meantime, 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, better lock your door. 5, 6, grab your crucifix.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. Fuck the prime time, bitch. Pass on a little message for me, will ya?
A dirty fuck!
You know what would be really scary? Freddy versus Jason versus Ash versus Michael Myers versus Pinhead versus Chucky versus Batman versus Godzilla versus Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Gail, get me Michael Bay on the phone. Pronto!
Alright, I've got him on speed dial. Yeah, Mr. Bay? Yeah, Adam wants to talk to you again. Yeah, I know, just humor him, alright? Alright, hold on.
Thanks. Okay, so Mike, don't hang up this time, okay? I've got this really great idea. You see...